By complication means like things have gone like out of your hand, or they have become complicated. So we call it that. So there are associated pathologies other than loss of the bone continuity, which either coexist or originate due to fractures. So there are always, you can say that, associated pathologies. Early diagnosis and aggressive treatment is necessary to minimize disabilities. So classification, immediate classification, systematic. First is systematic, in under which comes your hypovolemic shock. Then is local. From local, it comes injuries to your major vessels, muscles, tendons, joints, and visa. This is a very like easy, and you can say that these are the very common things. Hypovolemic shock, you all know that what happens in hypovolemic shock. You
Excuse
have,
me, sir.
yes.
So can you please share the PPT? It's stuck.
Okay, you want? Okay, I will share it in your LPU web. Okay, it's shared with you. I have shared in the LPU live.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead now. So now they were the immediate, like hypomelic shock and all these things, injuries to muscle, tendon, vessels, they all are immediate. So now in early phase, at the systemic level, we have hypomelic shock, then ARDS, then fat embolism, DVT, pulmonary embolism, aseptic traumatic fever, septicemia, crush syndrome. Okay. Then at the local level, we have infection and compartment syndrome. Under late complications related to imperfect union. So the actually basically, if I talk about when you go to like study your specific fractures, so you are going to see the late complications maximally. Maximally, you are going to see late complications. Okay. Okay. So other late complications are delayed union, non-union, malunion, and cross-union. Delayed union means like union is not as per appropriate time. Then non-union is your fragment hasn't united. It could be because of any reason, like the alignment was not maintained properly during immobilization phase. Then malunion means the bones are joined inappropriately. They are not joined in a proper position, but they are joined from here and there. This happens when fracture site get displaced, and it is not completely displaced. The bones are in contact. So what happens is callus start forming in that point itself. So we call it as malunion. Cross union means again the defect of the union. Okay. So let's talk about now others. That is avascular necrosis. Because of loss of blood supply, it results in avascular necrosis. Then shortening of the leg is seen, joint stiffness is seen, Sudak dystrophy. Sudak dystrophy in the students, what happens is like you will study this in detail further although, like your bone become shiny in this case. Then osteomyelitis, that is infection of bone, ischemic contracture, then myositis ossificans. These are the, you can say that spur of the bone start forming at the places where union takes place. Mainly, it is MO is seen in case of elbow joints. Okay, then osteoarthritis. So let's talk about what is hypovolemic shock. Common cause of death in fractures and major bones like pelvis or femur. Okay. So mainly what happens in hypovolemic shock is your volume is lost. Okay, blood volume is lost because of loss of blood. Okay, it is commonly seen in fractures of pelvis or femur. Which artery passes through femur? It is femoral artery. When that is being disrupted, so this condition is commonly seen. Okay, then what could be the cause? External or internal hemorrhage? External is compound fracture injuring major vessels of the limb, as I discussed with you. Femoral artery is present over there. Then internal injury to the body cavities, such in chest and pelvis, and and although internal is more difficult to diagnose as well because things are not visible. So if internal bleeding is there, it is quite dangerous for the patient. Okay. So in case of pelvic, it is estimated that patient loses 1.5 to 2 liters of blood, and in case of fracture femur, 1 to 1.2 liters. Okay. So how you can prevent it? First is early stoppage of bleeding. You first of all you need to look for whether there is a injury to blood vessels. If it is there, try to stop it immediately. Okay. Avoid shifting of the patient. If this is there, then always try the patient should not be shifted, or he should be first of all stabilized for bleeding. For pelvis, temporary stabilization with external fixation can be done. So you can apply external fixator in case of pelvic fractures. Then angiography and embolism of the bleeding vessels of deeper vessels can be done as well. Okay. Now management. Start even before the cause is established. As quickly you respond, the patient chances of recovering is more in these cases. Too large bore or cannula you can put the IV cannulas as well. Okay. Infuse 2000 ml of crystalloid followed by colloid and blood if needed. Means mainly what you need to understand in this case is like we will start blood transfusion to the patient. Cut down if the peripheral vasoconstriction is present. Okay. You need to remove, if vasoconstriction is there, you need to cut down that thing. You need to stop that because vasoconstriction, what causes is it squeezes the vessel, so blood supply to that particular part will stop. Localize the site of lesion. If in only body cavity, perform chest aspiration or diagnostic peritoneal leakage. Sometimes simple X-ray is enough. So mainly, in body cavities, you might have seen that whenever patient gets some abdominal or chest injury, they used to put a drip to the patient. Okay, so that drip is just for chest aspiration. Like in case of pneumothorax, what happens is there is an air in the lung. So in that case, what we do is we just immediately puncture the lung and we put the aspiration tube in that, so that it should not damage the patient's lung. Chest bleeding, then abdominal bleeding, you can do laparoscopy. Okay. Now ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. Okay. It is also present after trauma. Cause is not definitive. Definitive cause is just not known why this happens. Hypothesized to be by release of inflammatory cells and uh, proteinaceous fluid that accumulate in the alveolar space, leading to decrease in the diffusing capacity and hypoxemia. So mainly what happens is like because of when injury takes place, there is a changes in the cell membrane level. So permeability increases. So some fluid your goes out and some things it takes in as well. So because of lot of proteins, so this condition is seen. Okay, onset is after 24 hours after injury. So why we are teaching you these things is like, when fractures take place, we need to take care about these things foremost. Patient should not be hypovolemic. Okay, patient should not be having ARDS. That's why we are teaching you these things. Like immediately after fracture, you need to address these things. Then feature is trachypnea, then labored breathing, XA with diffused pulmonary infiltration. Okay.
Sir, what is tachypnea?
I'm coming into it. Don't worry. Okay. Then PO2 below 50%. Okay. Trachypnea, I just to be very specific. It is like a tachycardia. Okay. Tachycardia means whenever your heart rate increases. So in this case, what happens is in case of trachypnea is your breathing rate start increasing. Okay. So let's go further now. Management, we need to make sure that patient is if patient need oxygen, you can give oxygen, although in this case ventilator is being applied. Okay, so that patient can have 100% oxygen. It takes up to 7 days to get the chest clear. Okay, although like if we with the vigorous physiotherapy, we can stabilize the patient even before 7 days as well. But like when there is a trauma to chest and all, in that cases we are not able to help much to the patient because we cannot apply chest physiotherapy. So what we do is we just do positioning in that case. With positioning only we try to correct the things, and with the bronchodilators. We administer bronchodilators and we do positioning, which is called posterior drainage. Okay. Then, if not detected, early death occurs by multi-organ failure. So, you can understand that how important these things are to dealt with. Then we have fat embolism, very common seen in the fractures. It is a life-threatening complication of the fracture where fat globules occlude the blood vessels. Okay, means you can say that there is a blockage by fat globules in your blood vessels. Embolism is the process of efflusion of blood vessels by any material which is brought to the site from the elsewhere from the blood fluid. So what happens is when this emboli travels, we call it as a fat embolism. So injury to the large bones like femur release fat globule from the bone marrow to bloodstream. Alternatively, fat can also be released from the adipose tissues. The fat globule obstructs capillary vascular of the lungs. Also, fat is converted to fatty acid, which induces toxic vasculitis. Vasculitis means inflammation of your vascular organ. You can say that, followed by thrombosis, which obstruct the microvasculature. Okay. So what is happening is mainly in this cases when fat globules get obstructed in the capillaries, it forms the blockage, and when it travels, that thrombus becomes emboli. Now clinical features. Okay, facial rash of commonly it is seen like a rash of anterior neck, anterior axillary fold or conjunctiva. So these are the common seen features. The cerebral type is drowsiness, restlessness, disorientation, and coma. These are the cerebral features. So pulmonary is trachypnea, we have discussed. Then tachycardia. Tachycardia is increase in heart rate. Tachypnea increase in respiratory rate. Then respiratory failure. These are the common clinical features seen in the patient from which you can diagnose that this patient might be having like fat embolism, so we need to rule out that. Diagnosis: retinal arterial emboli, then urine fat globule. These all tests you can do. You can perform chest X-ray to confirm pulmonary infiltration is there or not. Then snowstorm appearance is seen in case of your chest. Okay, and you can see clinical features as well, which we discussed just now. So management is foremost is respiratory support. Okay. Then heparinization. Does this mean is means you will administer heparin. You all know that heparin is anticoagulant, so it will help in dissolving that globule. Okay. IV low, you can give like IV fluids to the patient. Then corticosteroid can be administered. Dextrose and alcohol infusion to emulsify fat. This can also be done through IV method. Okay, so this is clear till now what we have done. That's great. Okay, so very easy this is, but if you if you remember these things now, then it becomes very easy for you to remember fractures complications. And this is a 10 mark question. Write down the complication of fracture. You can be asked the specific complications as well, and you can be asked the general as well. Okay. So if you like understood these things over here right now, then it becomes easy for you ahead. So I'm going further now. This is DVT. DVT is a very common complication. Okay. So DVT is deep vein thrombosis. It is a common complication originated from altered hemodynamic in the lower limb and spinal injuries. Okay, I'm coming into it. What is it? So what we see is we see a triad. Okay, what does that mean is we like a decreased blood flow or the flow rate of the blood and damage to the blood vessels and hypocoagulability. This is how DVT is formed. So you can see in this diagram, first the trauma will take place, then we do immobilization. When we do immobilization, there happens is venous dialysis. Okay, and that lead to formation of thrombus. Okay, and with the Virchow's triad, these things are happening whenever DVT is taking place. So always, whenever you hello, any question?
Sir, can you repeat it again? That was just bad.
Okay, Virchow's triad means first of all, whenever you have an injury, there will be a decrease of blood flow. Okay, or after injury, what happens is immobilization takes place, and that leads to decrease in blood flow in that particular area, which leads to venous dialysis. Damage to the blood vessels, as I already discussed with the trauma, and then hypercoagulability. Hypercoagulability means your blood platelets start getting coagulated at that particular point. Okay, you know that blood composed of plasma, platelets, all these things. So when that platelets start getting coagulated, they form a thrombus at that particular site. You might have studied in the inflammation as well. Okay, this happens in case of inflammation only. Okay, so whenever there is a injury to any site, so there will be a decrease in blood flow, there will be a damage to the blood vessels and hypercoagulation. These three features will be present at that site, which lead to formation of thrombus. Okay. Okay, now clinical features. This is very important for a physiotherapist to understand. If you are not able to diagnose DVT, then it's going to be very problematic because you can play with the life of your patient as well. Even this happened to me when I just started practicing. Okay, when I just started practicing, I have seen a condition. I was called in a village. Okay, so you know how village people are. They don't go for doctor and all. When I saw that woman has a quite big swelling on her legs. Okay, so immediately, I was like thinking that it could be a DVT. So immediately I performed Homan's test, and that confirmed me that this patient is having DVT. So I denied to treat that patient, and I told them, first of all, you need to go to cardiologist to get it checked. Then only we can proceed any kind of a treatment. So you need to take care of these things very carefully. If I would have done any kind of a movement to that lady, then the death of that lady was obvious, because DVT that start travel and they form embolism. Okay, so now what are the clinical features? Elderly and obese patients are more at the risk. So immediate feature is leg swelling. Okay, local redness and warmth. You can see local redness and warmth. Although if it is a chronic case, sometimes it is not visible. You cannot feel that. But yes, neck swelling will be visible in that case. Okay, although these are the features like redness and warmth. Calf tenderness. Calves will be tender. Pain in passive dorsiflexia, which is Homan sign, which I told you, which I did on my patient. Okay, just you need to dorsiflex. Patient will have a pain. Okay, then you can do venography for DVT as well. What we do in venography is like we just with the ultrasound we check we also call it Doppler ultrasound as well. We can check the vessels as well, blood vessels. Now sequel. The venous thrombosis can get dislodged and produce embolism, as I discussed with you already. That the main risk is like thrombus can travel further into the heart, into the brain. If it travels into the heart, it can cause cardiac arrest. If it travels into the brain, it can cause stroke. Okay. If it is pulmonary embolism, the condition is life-threatening. Okay, which occurs within 4 to 5 days after injury. Rate complication of DVT is post-phlebitis syndrome, which can manifest itself as edema, pain and discomfort, and skin problems. Okay. Now, what are the other causes? Compression of the veins, physical trauma, cancer and infection. They can happen because of these things as well. Then inflammatory diseases like stroke, heart failure, nephrotic syndrome, risk factors. So you might be thinking that why stroke is written as a cause is, people who has already undergone the stroke, they have tendency of these things. In some people, what happens is blood coagulation takes place a lot. So such kind of episodes are very common in those patients. Okay. Then risk factors: surgery, hospitalization, immobilization because of long-term immobilization. Then orthopedic cast was applied, which causes compression of the veins. Economy class syndrome means the people who are of lower class, sometimes they develop this syndrome. Smoking is a major cause of developing any kind of a thrombus, because stopping helps in formation of thrombus. Obesity, yes. Then age, certain drugs such as estrogen or erythropoietin, they can also cause. Some females take estrogen, okay, as a drug therapy. Okay. Then thrombophilia, pregnancy and postnatal periods. Now diagnosis. Okay. Doppler ultrasound, as I already discussed with you. What we do is, this is the easiest, cheapest and easiest test, Doppler ultrasound. Then we have a venography. We just do like angiography. We have a venography. Then clinical features we need to check. Okay. This slide is a little bit okay. Okay. So I'm just going to repeat it quickly. But what we are in under the management, first of all, what you need to do is you need to do elevation. You can give any like you can say that antiplatelets which helps in coagulation. Okay, so that kind of medication you can start. After that, you have to do elevations and then deep breathing. You can give patient elastic stroking as well. Early internal fixation to provide mobility. So means you can, if you go for a surgical approach, this is always a better because patient won't be under any compressive device. Okay, so that can help him. Another is in the ICUs we use compression devices. Compression devices means ICT, intermittent compression therapy. What that does is after the heparin is being administered, we can start that. So that will keep the circulation in the patient. Then respiratory support for this thing as well. So anticoagulation therapy is very important. As I discussed, this is the foremost treatment which we give. Okay. So this is clear till now. Please reply over the chat box. Up till this, it is clear. Okay, that's good. Okay, I will go ahead with the further part. Okay. Crush syndrome. From the word crush means something is being crushed. Okay. It is a renal failure following extensive crushing injury of the muscles. Okay. So what is the pathogenesis is? Crushing of the muscles causes entry of myoglobin into the circulation. Myoglobin precipitates in the renal tubules, causing acute tubular necrosis, metabolic acidosis, and hyperkalemia. So these things are present whenever crushing of your muscles takes place. Okay, myoglobin enters and precipitates in your renal tubules. Okay, which causes necrosis, acidosis, and hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia means your loss of potassium, you can say that, lot of potassium. Then clinical features appears within 2 to 3 days of the injury. Signs of deficit, oliguria, that is scanty urine. Then apathy, restlessness, delirium, cardiac arrhythmia, hypothermia, and shock. These features are seen. The treatment is application of tourniquet, gradual release to slowly allow the myoglobin to reach the kidneys. Okay. Then treatment is treated as acute renal failure, although it will be like dialysis and all. So compartment syndrome, this is another complication. Increased pressure within the enclosed osteofacial space that reduces capillary fusion below level necessary for the tissue viability. The underlying mechanism is increased volume within the space, decreased space of contents, and combination of both. So what happens in compartment syndrome is, that at the level of the wrist, we have a compartment. Okay, let me switch on the camera. So what happens is, at the level of the wrist, we have a compartment. What we call compartment is in which there is a vessel, blood vessel, nerve, all are like passing through from the one point. So whenever there is a swelling or whenever there is a compression at this level, compression could be because of swelling as well. So what happens is our vessels and nerve, they get compressed. That leads to this thing, compartment syndrome. Okay, clear? Etiology. Leading cause of compartment syndrome: fractures, soft tissue injuries, arterial injury, drug overdose, okay, limb compression, okay, then burns. These are the main like causes of this thing. So as we discussed, trauma, bleeding, burns, tight wraps, fractions, surgical positioning, okay, pneumatic anti-shock garments, some people wear quite like tight garments or anti-shock garments also are prescribed to some people. Then wrap prefusion swelling and casting and wrap. As these are all things that have been discussed with you. When there is a cast applied, that can cause the compression as well. So increased compartment pressure leads to increased venous pressure, which decreases AV gradient, resulting in muscles and nerve ischemia. So main ultimate phase is ischemia. Okay, because blood supply will stop, and that leads to ischemia. So compartments. Most common is forearm and leg. Other compartments are hand, fingers, gluteal, thighs, and foot. I have shown you an example in the hand at the level of the wrist. It is present. Diagnosis is by history, by clinical examination. Okay, and then compartment pressure, if it is there, that you need to check. Then lab tests such as CPK and urine myoglobin. You can check the myoglobin in the urine. So 6 P's. These are the features. Pressure. Okay, palpation of compartment and its tension or fitness. So what happens when there is a compartment syndrome? Pulse may be lost in that patient. Okay, patient may you may not feel a pulse in that patient. So that is happening because of this thing. So pain, exaggerated with passive stretch of the involved muscles in the compartment. Then earlier symptom but inconsistent is paresthesia. Then will progress to anesthesia. Then paralysis, pallor, or pulselessness, as I already discussed with you. Pulselessness is seen in this. Treatment is lower leg to level of the heart. Okay, so you need to lower the leg to the level of heart. Remove cast if it is applied. Split all the dressing down to the skin. If the dressing is there, you need to split that up. Fasciotomy if continued clinical findings are there. What we do is we just put an incision at the level of the skin and fascia, which releases the elevated pressure. So these are some of the examples. You can see that. Okay, you can see in this picture that radial artery, radial nerve is passing through from the one point itself. So that is forming a compartment. Whenever there will be a swelling at this area, or when there is an inflammation at this area, so that leads to compartment syndrome. Okay. So this is about leg anatomy. You can see that how this is seen in so you can see this is an anterior compartment, lateral compartment, then superficial compartment, and then deep compartment. You can see now. Okay, so this is a fasciotomy done in this case. You can see the incision is given and elevated pressure is being like reduced. So this is for the anterior intermuscular septum, and then although it is managed for the lateral compartment syndrome. So this is about hand compartment. You can see now how the incision is given. This is regarding the foot. So up till this it is clear. I think ahead I will start from tomorrow, because it is better if you digest all these things at this moment. Okay, because this is very important topic, so I want that you should